Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Amanda.
And we are bringing it back really old school. Really old school.
On accident.
Yes, this just came up. We were actually trying to record a different episode from our backlog, and we started talking about this one that is deep and dear to our hearts. It is the Twilight Saga. So we're going to be talking a little bit of books, a little bit of the movies, a little bit of comparison, what we like most, what we don't like. And, this one, I think we have a pretty good grasp on what happens in them. I think we've seen these things and read these things enough that we don't have a memory problem with it.
No, and you guys, people make fun of me all the time. If anybody knows me, they know I'm a Twilight fan, mega fan.
Tell them how much, Amanda.
Okay, well, it's not as bad as it seems. The only person in my life that I actually named after the Twilight movies was my cat Edward, because we had already had our dog Bella. So since her name was already Bella, I was like, well, it only makes sense to name the cat
It's
Edward.
only natural.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And I'm sorry, I was 19 years old. Okay. So named the cat Edward. And then we had fishes, and they were Alice and Jasper 2 years. And then my kids are Emmett and Jacob. I swear they were not named after the movie.
Happy accident.
It really was. It was a very happy accident, but I love to play into it because it's hilarious. And when they were really little, so I watched the Twilight movies, all of them, at least once a month.
Okay.
And usually probably more than that. They're my going to sleep movies, or like my weekend cleaning movies, or
Were
I don't
you
have to sit down and watch?
Did you read the books before watching the movies?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then were you like one who, when the movies came out, did you make a big to-do about when it premiered in the theaters?
Yep. I was at every single midnight premiere.
Midnight premiere.
With my very supportive now husband.
See, my now husband, and he was my husband at the time, only went to Twilight with me, and he was like, I'm not doing that again.
Oh, well, you know what? It was actually his fault that I got into this, because I've always been a big reader, but before the Twilight books, I was, in a reading slump, as all of us get into.
Yeah.
And I probably hadn't read in a couple of years, consistently. And Ben's grandmother actually gave me the books after she had read them. And she's like, I love these. I think you would love them. And so I read them. And my mother-in-law read them at the same time as I did. So we read them together. And I think after that, my mom read them. And then, I don't know, it just spiraled from there. I fell in love with the books.
Yes. So I have one of my cousins is he's younger than me by a couple years, but he's very intellectual. He's very into indie music, indie films, really intellectual, philosophical books. That's sort of his jam. And so there can be an argument made that the books are not well written. And honestly, they aren't. Stephanie Meyer doesn't write well necessarily, but she knows how to hit a story. And that's what she does so well. And that's why she kept it, because the story is good. You are connected to these characters. You want to see their success or their failures. You are really emotionally affected by these characters. So while the grammatical aspect of writing, not great, the storytelling ability she has is phenomenal. It's so good.
Yes.
And so for me, a friend of mine, I was actually working at Kmart, and I remember it was over Thanksgiving. It was just before Thanksgiving break of, I think it was 2009. And she had told me, oh, you have to, it was my coworker. She's like, you have to read these books. Vampires, not really my thing. I don't think I'm going to read that. She's like, no, but seriously, I had the same thought. Vampires, not my thing. You have to read these books.
Same.
Well, okay, I'll try one. And she let me borrow it, and I finished it within a day. I'm like, okay, so luckily I worked at Kmart. I'm like, all right, I'm snapping up the rest of them. And I remember we drove from where we lived to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and I didn't sleep the whole night before because I was just reading. And then I got stuck on stupid New Moon. It's not stupid, but I got stuck in New Moon on the car, and I kept flipping to the back to see when Edward would come, so I could be like, okay, he's coming back.
Oh
It's
my
all right. It's
gosh,
all right.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing with that book. I kept going to the
Edward's my
very end.
guy.
I was like, okay, is he coming back or should I just quit the series?
Yes, that was my thought. Are we gonna? Jacob's nice and all, but are we just gonna be stuck with him forever? Because I can just stop now. But he came back, and then I devout. It took me a week to read through all four of them, and I loved it. And
Yeah.
then when they came out in the theater, I convinced my husband to go with me, and he was like, "That was," and obviously, even then I was like, "This ain't great." The
Hey,
story
no,
is.
I was not admitting it back then. Nope.
Oh, I did.
I was like, nope, best movie ever.
I don't think it helped that I went with my husband who was very critical of it. And I kept looking at him and be like, that's
Oh,
better
see,
in the
mine was
books.
still a
That's better in the
boyfriend.
books. Oh,
Mine was
mine was
still a
not.
boyfriend.
My
So
husband had
it was,
nothing left to prove.
you know,
He already had
it was,
me.
he couldn't complain too much.
He did say though that he would not go to New Moon with us. So he actually has a recording of myself. And so we lived in this apartment, but it was a house. We lived in the bottom floor of a house, and then there was two apartments on top.
Mm.
And my friend who lived on the third floor, she would come down and we would watch like the trailers and talk about the books and like get all excited about it. And my husband has a picture of her and I sitting really close to the TV during the MTV Music Awards when they showed the trailer for New Moon. We were all excited about it.
I remember that.
And we made shirts, and I had my sisters come. They lived in a different town, so we all met in a different town. There was a group of like 7 of us who wore the shirts. I'm I am an well, I'm a mid-20s woman who's wearing like New Moon shirts, Team Edward, all this sort of stupid stuff.
Oh
And we had to go see
yeah.
it in the theater, and it was a lot of fun. I don't think we did that for Eclipse though. I think I convinced my husband to go with me for that. But then we went to the fourth, fifth, because Breaking Dawn Part 2 is the fifth, right?
Yeah.
We went to that, and we were talking about how my friend and I, who went together, were livid at the end of that movie.
Oh. But wasn't every you were see, I wasn't mad.
I
I was
was, I was
I
so
was
mad.
mad for a few minutes.
Mm-mm.
I was mad for a few minutes, but once it was all over, I was just like, okay. But I do remember being more disappointed that there
Mhm.
was just some major points that I wish.
Left out.
And I'm like, if you're gonna break the movie up into two different movies, you should have been able to fit
Mm-hmm.
everything in there.
Instead of creating a scene that never existed in the first place that took way too long to get
The
through.
honeymoon, way too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why Breaking Dawn 1 is my,
Mm-hmm.
it's number 4 on my
Yeah.
best to least, because it was just like so much unnecessary
Mm-hmm.
stuff in it. And there was like
Yep.
no action.
No, even in the books, it's like a montage. Even Stephanie Meyer knew, okay, well, it's not a lot happening here.
Yeah, it's like, I need something. I
Mm-hmm.
need some kind of, I don't know. I just feel like the first movie was done very poorly. I think at least the second movie had like action and
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yep.
it made you feel.
Absolutely.
I don't know how to explain it. It made you feel. The first one's just like, let's get through this so I can get to the second one.
And they thought I remember watching all because even though it's laugh like it makes me laugh when I watch that one now, just because it's so badly done. But I
Yeah.
remember poring over every piece of behind the scenes interviews with the
Yeah.
directors, interview with the cast as it was coming on. I just absorbed all of that. And I don't remember the name of it starts with a C. I want to say Catherine, but I'm not sure. The director of the first one, she thought all of her shots were so cool and
Oh
so artsy, and it was
gosh.
so great. And her favorite scene to film was the van scene. Like, I'm sorry, what?
The van scene. Ugh.
That is the most laughable scene of the first movie. Well, no, that's not
Why?
true. When Edward, I can't say without laughing, but when Edward
Catherine
finds her,
Hardwicke.
that's what it is, Catherine Hardwicke. When Edward finds her in Port Haven, or yeah, they went to Port Haven, I think, and those guys are like harassing her. He whips his revolver around. That scene is so awkward and uncomfortable.
I wish I could have seen him like go, "Arr." I don't know.
But I can't
Because
like contain
that's
myself.
the noise that, because we don't get to hear what he says or what he makes. And so in my head, every time, all I can hear is going, Arr. Like I don't You got to give me something.
His
I
body
could have
even
directed
does
this
the
movie
lurch
better.
forward. I noticed you're doing this. His body
I
actually does.
know. Because I mean, oh gosh, there's so many holes.
Okay,
The restaurant scene was
awful. It wasn't even
weird.
funny when he was like, I can read everybody's mind in this room. He did not say it like that in the books.
No,
It's like they were trying to make a joke, and it was so not funny.
fell
It
flat.
was, what was it? They said money, money, sex, money,
Yeah.
cat. Like that that's not, and they even like when they
No.
said cat, they even zoomed in on the guy's face and he like made a happy face. That was so weird.
I mean,
It,
probably that was that. He's probably reading my mind then, but
all of them. They were all Amanda's money, sex, cat.
it was just all in once. Just Amanda's brain so big. No, that whole scene, him just like sitting there watching her eat, like, and also the creepiness of him watching her sleep. Like in the book, it was done better. It didn't.
Yes.
It wasn't creepy. Now that you think about it, it's kind of creepy, but it
It,
wasn't like the way he's staring at her.
yes.
It was just like, okay, whoa.
And I've actually watched interviews with him. Catherine Hardwicke was basically saying, I want you, like she was giving directions on
Yeah, it's
how
more
to do toward his
intense.
face. And the only way he could get more intense is to like look like he was ready to murder her. He just did, every time he had to get that mode, he just made the sound. And like I think Robert Pattinson is a talented actor. He's an
Ooh,
incredibly awkward human being. But
did you watch Batman?
I didn't because okay, here's the thing. I could only see him as Edward Cullen, who was awkward as crap. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way I can watch him in
No,
Batman and not think Edward Cullen.
no, watch
Is he
Batman.
good in that?
Yes. And
My
it finally actually made my heart happy
really?
because I'm like, yes.
I haven't watched the Ben Affleck ones either because I figured that would be crap too.
Man, no, those suck.
See,
Don't watch
I'm
it.
Michael Keaton era. That's my Batman. Michael
Oh
Keaton is
yeah,
my
I love
Batman.
Michael Keaton
And
too.
Val Kilmer was also my Batman.
I loved Christian Bale too.
Oh yeah, he
Like
was
The
good.
Joker is one of my all-time favorite
Heath
movies
Ledger, holy
ever.
crap.
Yeah.
He's
He
talented.
like yeah, I can do a whole podcast over friggin' the Joker movie, just the one.
Well, so I do think Robert Pattinson is talented,
Yes.
but I think he is so awkward and lanky that this character of Edward Cullen is supposed to be beyond beautiful, incredibly smooth, super coordinated. That ain't Robert Pattinson.
See, I feel like it's more the director like made him more
Mm,
like that because think of him in like Oh, you didn't watch Harry
I
Potter.
did not.
Okay, so in Harry Potter, Robert Pattinson is not as awkward.
Oh, really?
And that was before Twilight.
Well, he did say in one of the interviews that it was really, and I'm bringing back some core, like I'm unlocking some core memories right now because it was
I
back with,
remember.
I haven't seen these since they came out. But I remember him talking about how difficult it was to the frame of reference he was given by Catherine Hardwicke, or I think it might have even been all the directors, but it started with Catherine Hardwicke, obviously, saying that he was always on the verge of, I want to eat you and I love you. And so he's like, and I tried to portray that on my face. And he even said, I don't think I always nailed it. You didn't.
No,
Our
no,
paths,
sir.
you almost never nailed it. But like, and again, I have to go back to that going off into the forest scene where he's just kind of like, boop, boop, boop. Like I almost like want like a Snoopy soundtrack behind him because that's what it sounds like. And it looks like he's gonna trip any moment. And like even I just watched. Now the reason we're talking about this is because I watched New Moon and Eclipse last night. And I was like telling
This is how
Amanda
we
about
started
it.
this.
That's how we started it.
And it has turned into an entire podcast.
But you'll love it. And all you Gen Zers who have never seen it, like I asked my daughter, I was like, have you seen Twilight? She's like, no, I wouldn't watch that. I'm like, what?
Oh,
Why? And she said she made some weird excuse about how it's mean fodder or mean garbage or something. Like, you don't even know what it is. You can't say it's garbage. No.
my kids would probably never admit that they like
Yeah.
Twilight.
It's probably not cool to do it, but you Gen Zers, give it a shot. Read the books first, though, please. Please,
Yeah,
please read the books
are
first.
so the book. It's just a great story. The movies
Mhm.
just were very poorly executed.
Yes. And then okay, there was also the Waylon, that joke with Waylon who got murdered in Twilight when he's like, "Remember me? You used to sit on my lap." Like,
I know.
should your death, the sheriff, should that be
know.
said like that?
I know. There was a couple of very awkward.
Because that they were trying to be edgy and funny, but you didn't need
Yes.
to be edgy and funny. People are watching this movie because they love the books. The people who I
Mhm.
thought were the best in Twilight was Billy Burke, top of my list. I love the scene when Edward came over and he just cocked his gun. But Billy Burke will always have my heart. It's one of the reasons I love Fire Country because Billy Burke is in Fire Country. If you don't know who Billy Burke is, it's Charlie Swan. Almost said what you guys call him, but it's
Mm.
Charlie Swan.
Daddy Swan.
Don't know why I brought it up.
You know I have to say it.
It's in my head though. I have to mentally correct myself before I say his name. But it's Charlie Swan. He's Billy Burke, I think, is just an all-around great actor. He was in Gilmore
Yes.
Girls. He was great in there. Everything I've ever seen him in. He's naturally sarcastic and funny, and I like that in a person.
Yep.
The other one, obviously, I think Anna Kendrick played her part very well in all
She
of the
did.
movie.
She did.
And then the guy who played Mike Wirch, I don't remember his name.
Who?
Mike.
Newton?
Oh, it was Wirch, I think, is his real name. Now I have to look that up. I think it's his real name.
I said, who? This is a new character for me. I thought I knew everybody.
Telling you, core memories unlocked, baby. Welch. His last name is Welch. I was close.
Close enough.
So his last name is Welch. His first name is Michael. So I think that's why I get him confused. Michael, and that happens a lot in here actually. And like these new low budget things, a lot of the characters have the same names. But Michael Welch plays Mike Newton. I thought he played his part great. I loved him in all of his movies. And I was actually surprised coming out of this that Anna Kendrick got a ton of popular parts and Mike Welch didn't. He still acted, but he hasn't. I feel like he was deserving of bigger and better roles. I thought he did really well.
I thought he did too.
He was
You know
funny.
who else I thought that did really well in these movies and is Ashley Greene. She was like, I feel like all the vampires, and that's kind of how Stephanie wrote them, was being very like awkward and kind of, a little bit like tense because like, Jasper's like tense and it's just kind of like awkward.
Jackson Rathbone he played that part so awful though. Again, that could be down to direction, but he played it so
was more
awful.
Direction. I swear that's more direction. Because of the way he's acting, I feel like that's direction. And also poorly written.
Oh,
the screenplay was poorly written.
Screenplay was on, and they changed the actors or they changed the directors for every film, but they kept the same terrible guys. Your problem wasn't, well, I mean, the first one, it was direction. Your problem isn't really direction. It's the material that you are writing.
Like pick up the book and read it.
Yes.
And then let's write the screenplay. How about that? Because I don't know if they read the book.
No.
It's like someone's like, so this is what happens in this movie. Here's the bullet points. Have at it.
We're just gonna make general descriptions here. Here on out. I do agree with you. I did like Ashley Greene.
She always felt more relaxed and fluid, and I think
True
that was
character.
Obviously her character, but that's what made me like her the most out of the main, I guess, group.
Well, I mean, I really liked Sarah Clark, who played Renee.
And I liked all the parents.
I thought maybe that's what it is because they're all adults, so maybe they just play it better.
Well, Daddy Swan always made me laugh a little bit because he had some of the best lines.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like when Jacob's like going to ship, he's pull your pants up. He had some of the best one-liners.
And he was so he played awkward really well in Twilight. It wasn't like stiff rigidity, but it was like, I don't know what to say or do here. And it was natural awkwardness.
Yeah. It was believable.
Yes. So the scene that I need to talk about, two of the scenes in Twilight.
Okay.
Is first when Bella first walks into the science classroom. That fan and the way Edward reacts, like, dude, what is happening? And I watch this guy. I don't always, because he's got a filthy mouth. He just says a lot of swear words, but he's hilarious, and he's from Wisconsin, so it's hard to not like watch him. But it's called Dylan Is in Trouble. and he'll do movie review Mondays, and he did one where he just watched all the Twilight movies back to back. So
Oh.
it's like an hour-long episode, and he critiques it. And I think he did like film stuff.
Oh,
And that
no.
scene came on and he just paused it and he went and just stared at the camera for a few minutes silent.
Oh
And he
no.
pointed out, what direction is that fan blowing? Because I'll rear one up. And the other one I have to bring up is when he's trying to talk to her the first time he comes back. And she's like,
Oh.
I don't like any cold, wet thing. Like, what are you a goat? What is happening right now? There's the other thing I watch is bad lip reading. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those on YouTube, but they do one for all of the
Oh,
Twilight movies. This
yes.
one is so good.
I
The
think
one
I've
for the
seen
first
this
movie
one
is so
too.
good. And it's that part where they really hone in on the goat sound. And I think that's why in my head, that's the way it sounds. But again, I think part of that, I'm not a fan of Kristen Stewart's work. I'm just not. I think she plays this character in all of her things, but I do think this one was over the top. And I think that was a directorial decision. Bella or Kristen, you had to be incredibly awkward. That's how Kristen Stewart plays awkward.
You should have just told her to act normal.
Just be you. Be you. I will say though, I think Kristen Stewart was basically how I pictured Bella in my head.
Yeah,
But I think
you would think that they would have better chemistry on the screen.
yeah, that was the other thing. And they even dated in real life, and like looking at them on screen and even in their interviews, like, are you guys are together? You're a thing?
They also used to like to not shower for a week and then smell
That
each
was just
other.
Robert
So
Pattinson. Robert Pattinson was the one who was like, yeah, I don't like the shower. Like, what a weird thing
no,
to divulge about yourself.
she was into some weird stuff too. I think they were just
I see. I can't. I genuinely cannot watch her do interviews. It drives me
oh
crazy. So
no.
hers were never ones that I watched because I could not stand watching her talk.
I only watch them if they're only like 30 seconds long and it's
Yeah.
like interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
can't watch like those full.
No.
I could never interview her. I would feel awkward the whole
Mm-hmm.
time.
Honestly, I think it's because I think she is an extreme introvert, isn't she? She's talked about that
Yes.
before. So
Yes.
she is genuinely extremely uncomfortable being interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
But
She's a
that makes
nepo
it
baby.
super hard
You
to
would
yeah,
think that she would like
exactly.
be
That's why
used
it
to
makes it
it.
hard to watch you. I think the
Mm.
other reason I have a problem with her is because the other movie I watched her in before Twilight was Call of the Wild, and I freaking hate that movie. Oh, I hate that movie. I don't like
I don't think
movies.
I've ever seen that one. I think the
It's
first movie I saw her in was Panic Room.
I don't think I ever saw with Jodie Foster. I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good movie.
It
She is
just
a little bit awkward in that too,
well, yeah, because that's Kristen Stewart.
but that's when she was like 12.
Yeah, that's true. Good call. This one, she was
She's
like
always been awkward.
Call of the Wild was something she worked on right before Twilight, or relatively close to
Mm.
it. I think she worked with that director. I think Catherine Hardwicke worked in that. Call of the Wild is based on a true story, and it's the guy who instead of going off to college, he's taking a break to go out in the wilderness. And I'm not giving anything away because it's based on a true story. It's out there, but he died in the wilderness because he ate the wrong plant. But he died one day before people found him. Like, and I know it's a true
I
story,
think
so
I
I don't have any
remember
business
this.
hating it because it really happened. But it's like the Deer Hunter. I can't. I hate those endings. I hate them so much with every fiber of my being. But
I've heard of that movie,
she was
The Deer
very
Hunter.
awkward in it. Ugh. That one's not
I,
based on reality, so that ending just ticked me off.
I was told not to watch it, so I've just never watched it.
I wasted like 2.5 hours of my life on that
Oh,
thing.
see, woohoo! I didn't watch it.
In the Deer Hunter's events, the acting is phenomenal.
Mm.
Phenomenal. The story is really good. It's just the ending that ruins everything.
Oh
Everything.
no!
Oh,
You should have just old yellered it.
what do you mean? Oh, Yeller ends horrible too.
That's why you should old yeller it.
You mean stop watching it?
Finish it. Yeah, you don't watch
Oh,
the ending.
I always watch the ending of Old Yeller. I
Are
just
you
make
not a
myself
Friends fan?
miserable.
Hello.
I am, but oh, that's right. Phoebe didn't watch the end of it, right?
Yeah, they called it Old Yeller. She
I
just didn't
forgot
watch
about
the
that.
ending of Old Yeller because she didn't like it. Or her mom would never
Her
let them
mom,
watch
her mom told her it was the end and would turn it off there.
all the movies though, all the sad movies. And then she goes and starts watching all the Disney movies. She's like, "This is just
Wasn't it when they had to watch all Yeller? She's going, no, no, what?
Yes.
I forgot about that.
That's what I always call it. I'm gonna old Yeller this. Like,
I've heard
it's
you
gonna
use that
be
reference before, and I'm like,
sad.
I watched the movie all the way through. What does that mean?
It was
I couldn't
sad
know.
and I didn't finish it. I don't finish certain things if I know they're gonna be sad, I will stop watching an episode before so I don't have to watch the
No.
ending. Yeah.
Even if you've never seen the ending?
Yeah. I'll read. I'll read about it. I'll go and look.
Oh, okay. So you
And then
know the ending.
I know it. I don't want to watch it.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought you were like, I just pretend that this where I stopped is the end.
Nope.
Okay. I feel better about your sanity now. I was really concerned.
I like Phoebe's moms. So.
That's how we watch things in my house.
We just turn them off. All right, kids, you want to watch Scream? I got no problem with that.
This one ends with all the right people dying.
We can watch Scream all day long, but don't put on Old Yeller or Marley and Me.
Scary is better than depressed.
All right. Seeing all these people name their golden retrievers Marley, by the way, and I
that
think
makes
that's
me
really
sad.
Demented.
Really demented.
Ben and I were having this conversation last night. I know it's way off track, but
it's
just reminded me.
I think the book of Twilight, the other thing that they left out that I felt was not good, that meadow scene, I don't think was great. They left out like how they let up there. They left out like how he helped in the sparkle. The sparkle did not translate well to screen. To be fair, that's a dumb aspect of the books, but it did not translate well to screen.
I don't think that that's what Stephanie was like picturing in her head. Like, I don't think she meant to like bedazzle Edward. Like, exactly. I think it was supposed to be like ding, ding, not like ding. Like,
my favorite part is when he reveals it and he is bedazzled from forehead to waistline. He goes, "Look at me, Beller, I'm a killer." Dude, you're sparkling like a unicorn.
He's like screaming. I'm like, who are you yelling at? It's so badly done. That whole scene, so badly done. Guys, I swear to God, these are my favorites. I love this freaking story, but I can harp on this movies all day long.
The other thing too is Rosalie's line that just gives me the ick is when she's like, "My monkey man." Like,
man.
And then Kristen Stewart says to Edward, and this is all in the first movie. Does he call her or does she call him a spider monkey? Get on, spider monkey. I think that's him to her.
That's
when
Edward.
They the tree.
But that comes from the book.
I know, but the way it's delivered, adding on to my monkey man is just the
monkey man.
You guys made that like weirdly erotic and fetishy, and it's gross.
If you know anything about Nikki Reed, it's so off base of her. I want to like interview her one day and be like, so when you had to deliver the line, "My monkey man," what was going through your brain? I just want to know. And I guarantee you she would cringe.
Yes. Maybe we should ask them all to be on because they're doing a thing now. Like they're I don't know why, but Twilight is like all over TikTok all of a sudden.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, the side of TikTok I found myself on. Like they did this one of Where Are They Now? And they did the baseball scene, and it's them. I think I sent it to one of our chats. It's them doing their positions on the field, and then they turn around and it's modern day. So like
I didn't see that one. I saw one and I thought it was the same video you sent, so I didn't even watch it. You gotta go back and send it or watch it. I saw one and it was the baseball field, but it was them like behind the scenes of like how they filmed them running. Like that. And it was like so awkward and funny looking. Mm-hmm. And they were like, it like hurt them. Like they were like, ow, 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 like when they were getting off. Like it was just like,
it's not funny, but it's just the image in my head is funny.
Oh, it's I don't think I sent it to anybody. If I come across it again, I'll send it to you because it is funny. I'm like, ooh, that looks so
awkward. They didn't get the same treatment that Cam did where they got to ride on the moving walkway.
No. Nope. They got like this lift. But it was like a lot of their weight having to like be on it. I don't know. It was like very awkward. I
I
feel like
don't.
there was an easier way.
Yes. And that's the other thing. Right off of that scene when they're driving away and it's Bella and Edward in the car, that was not how that scene should have been. Like it was like they hated each other in that scene. And I
I know.
remember Kristen Stewart was like, I remember just screaming at Robert that we just have to do this one more time. Let's get it done. Let's do it. And so that was like her attitude that she was screaming at him in was that's what she would scream at him between takes because they couldn't get it right. So she just started screaming at him. Like that
No
translated,
wonder the mood was
Kristen.
down.
That did not feel loving. It felt like you wanted to punch him in the face.
Well, you know what? They were together,
To be
so
fair. And then, okay, the other thing is with our Pats being him being hired, but then their decision to not make sure his chest hair was gone when it was going to go and be played in front of a bunch of like 12-year-olds, which let's be honest was kind of the demographic it was intended for was young adult. So there was a lot of 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds who were really into this. And he said there were some girls who would cry because he had chest hair. And he was like, yeah, that might have been a mistake. Because little girls are freaked out by the chest hair. They're Edward Cullen.
okay, well, if they cried,
They're
they
little girls.
maybe they should see some chest hair then, because there's a lot of the bigger things to cry about.
That's true. That's true.
Like the sparkle. I would have cried over the sparkle more than the chest hair.
And even okay, even in I know I'm picking, but it's because I have read the books at least at minimum 1,000 times each. Because I would read them back to back. You know, when I don't want to get out of a world, I'm not going to get out of the world, and I have to
Yeah.
finally. And when the books first came out, there wasn't videos, there wasn't movies in the works, there were just the books.
Mhm.
So I had to keep
Yep.
rereading the books. But in Eclipse, in the movie, when they all show up to the battlefield, everyone's
Mhm.
wearing tailored suits, or not suits, but tailored clothing. The jeans close fitting.
Yeah.
They look normal, except for Edward. But in that scene, he is wearing like a tight long sleeve shirt, but then really baggy wind pants that like cinch at the ankles. Like,
What are
dude, are
those?
you from like why does everyone else look normal? You're supposed to be this beautiful creature of a man,
I
and you
swear
look
he
like
just
you're an
forgot to
awkward
change.
grandpa.
He just
Maybe.
forgot to change, and they
I don't
just
know.
didn't realize it and filmed.
Then I watched him in another movie after the Twilight stuff because I did like Edward Cullen and I liked Arpats because he
Mhm.
was, Edward Cullen. It was another really, really sad movie. He likes those deranged movies. But it was the one where he met a girl. Oh my gosh, I belong to you or me before you or something like that.
Oh.
What's that?
Um, remember something.
Oh, Remember Me. Is that what it
Remember me.
was?
Hold on.
It
It's
was
remember
so
something.
sad.
Yeah, remember
I
me.
was just sobbing in the
The
theaters.
end of that movie, like, blew my mind, by the way, because I did not see that coming.
No, I was complete. So that
Like
I actually,
I don't want to like give anything away in case
no,
nobody's
we're
read
not
it.
going
But
to.
like when it like pans out and you see what's about the
Hmm.
ending it, and oh my gosh, I was just like,
We sat there
never.
for a good, Remember Me, that is what it's called.
Yeah.
We sat in the theater for a good like 5 minutes after it was done, be like, what just happened?
Yeah, that
It was good.
I watched it at home. I didn't watch it in
Oh, we
theaters.
went
I
to the
watched it at
theaters.
home. And I
And
didn't watch it until like a couple of years after it came out, actually. I didn't watch it until like Twilight was already out.
mhm.
I watched
Yeah,
it
it came
because
out
I
in
was like,
between them.
ooh, okay. Is
It
that
came
when
out
it came
between
out?
either Breaking Dawn 1 and 2 or Eclipse and Breaking Dawn 1 is when it came out.
See, I feel like I watched it after like all the Twilight movies.
Hmm.
Like I
Oh, you
watched it
might have.
later and like
And he wasn't
um,
awkward in that. He wasn't
no,
terrible in that. He was also in
no.
another movie with Willem Dafoe, who is from Appleton, by the way, which is kind of amazing. But my husband, because he was making fun of me last night when New Moon was on, he was like, "What is happening? What is that?" I'm like, dude, you saw this with me. Relax. And he's like, and I said, "This is why I don't tell you what I'm watching or doing because you make fun of me because they're all young adult stuff." He's like, "No, I loved our Pats with William Dafoe in that one movie he was in. Something about a lighthouse. I hated that movie. It was awful. It was terrible. My husband thought it was genius, but whatever.
With the lighthouse.
They were lighthouse keepers, and it was this weird. It was almost like an indie film, but it was really interestingly shot. I'll find what it is. Water for Elephants. Oh, that was a horrifically sad story too. That
Oh
Robert Pattinson was
gosh,
in.
I got through that movie one time and could never
Oof,
go back to it.
no. And I
I
read the
hated
book
that.
too. It's just called The Lighthouse.
Oh,
It's all
I
it's
haven't
called.
seen that one. I did not. I didn't like the Water for Elephants. I
No,
didn't like
I
the
did not.
story.
Mm-mm.
I didn't like
No,
the movie.
nothing about it made me feel
Everybody
good.
loved it, and I'm like, "Oh, I know is it me? It's probably me."
No, it was, I hated it. I
Okay,
hate
good.
it.
Not just me.
I only read it because my friend was like, "This is so good, you have to read it." And I finished it to the end. I was like, I so regret finishing this book. And then she
It's
wanted to
like,
go see it with me. I'm like, okay, I'll go
I
see
don't
it.
want to. I honestly didn't watch that until like a couple of years after it came out. But everyone was like, "Oh, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good." I was like, "Okay, finally, like I'll watch it once."
Hmm.
And I watched it and I was like, "Yeah, see, I know what movies I'm gonna like and not like. I
Hmm.
knew I wasn't gonna
And
like
it's
that."
not the acting, it's not, it's just the
No,
story is terrible.
I just yeah, I it didn't.
The story's awful.
There you can I know it's kind of like a weird-ish movie and it's supposed to be a little bit weirdish. That's the vibe it's supposed to give off. There's a right way and a wrong way to do
Hmm.
that.
So I think Twilight, I think, was the worst. I think they did get better as they changed directors. Obviously, I think.
Too.
Well, the other thing to take in is Twilight was such a low budget movie, so low budget. Like I
Yeah.
remember some of the guys who were playing the Native Americans from the tribe were sleeping on the director's couch because
Hmm.
they weren't even making enough money. They weren't doing, when they went to the premiere, he had to bunk up at somebody's house because it was a super low budget. Nobody got paid a lot. They didn't have a lot of money with special effects and stuff like that. But it still could have been better.
No, I mean, with I have seen better movies with lower budgets though.
Yes, that's
They
exactly it.
had I just looked it up. They had $37 million to make this
Which is
movie.
kind of a lot back then. I mean,
I
it's a
think
lot
they
now too, but
I think they put money into the wrong
mm-hmm.
um parts of it,
Mm-hmm.
to be
I'd agree
honest.
with that completely. And then also you
Like,
look at the lighting in like New
mm,
Moon and Eclipse. I get what they were trying to do with the lighting in the first one, but there was no color. It's like they leached all of the color out. All their faces, and
yeah.
they did do that because all their faces had a blue hue to them.
Hmm.
And I get what you were trying to do with the Forks atmosphere, but they did that well, I think, in Eclipse.
Yeah, they did
But
actually.
there was color in Eclipse.
Yep. The speaking of Eclipse, have did you ever read the Bree Taylor
Tanner?
Bree Bree Tanner
I
story?
didn't. I almost did, but I didn't care enough about the character at that time when it came out that I didn't.
You should.
Should I?
I didn't read it until a couple of years after I had read all the books.
Did you
Like,
read Midnight Sun?
no, no, because it was too long afterwards and I was scared.
It's good. Did you read it when it was leaked?
No,
Really? Because the first few
no.
chapters were leaked before Breaking Dawn came out.
I know. I never I didn't feel comfortable. I thought I was gonna ruin something for me.
Mm-mm. No, it was so good.
And
I
so
got
it
it. I'm
scared
gonna
me.
send it to you because it was so good.
Okay.
You have to
Uh,
read it though. It's good. I
I
promise you, it's good. It's good.
okay. You scared me. I had purposely stayed away from this book. So I'm like, you're just gonna like destroy something.
No, it's really good. I actually really, really liked it. I think it's a great companion book. And I remember Robert Pattinson was panicking because he thought he leaked it somehow because it was given to him for the character development. And Stephanie Meyer had to be like, it wasn't you, Robert. It wasn't you. You're okay. He's like, thank God. But he said he got a phone call one, like the middle of the night. He thought he was going to get fired for releasing that part of the book.
Whoops.
It wasn't him though. But that's
I only showed 15 of my closest friends.
couldn't have been any of that who leaked it out. But Breonna Taylor's like a little novella, right? It's really thin. It's really
Yes,
small. Okay,
it
I'll have to
is.
pick that. If you promise to read Midnight Sun, I'll read the Brie Tanner one.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
It's um I think I really loved her story. I wish they had
I
actually in the
know.
movies maybe had saved her. Like maybe that was a change they could
Yes.
have made.
There's so many
Um,
other stupid changes they made that
I
didn't make
know,
any sense that
I
was one
know.
that would have made sense.
It would have made sense and like I got excited because I knew in the books that, she died, but
Hmm.
the way that they did it in the movie, I don't know. I was feeling like, ooh, maybe they're gonna sacrifice her. Not sacrifice her. Holy moly, that's a total opposite of what I meant. Um, save or whatever. I can't think of the word I was actually trying to
Save,
think.
sacrifice. Yeah, it's all
Like
the same.
tomato, potato. Um, but no, I loved Brie Tanner. I wish we would
Hmm.
have gotten more of her. She was one of those side
Yep.
characters that was like a
Yeah.
blip,
But they
but
focused
like
enough on her.
yeah, that it made her like really interesting. And I loved her story because I don't know, I loved her story.
Mm-hmm.
She was interesting enough, and you really like felt her. She like had a good heart,
Yes.
and it kind of sucked when they killed her though.
And again, I didn't read the book, but I gathered that from because I just watched the clips when she said, "What have you done to me?" And she was a vampire and she didn't want to drink blood. She didn't want to, and she was a newborn. And so there was potential for her to be kind of like a Bella character because she
Yeah,
was supposed to be in a frenzy and she was like, I don't want to do this. What did you do to me? I don't want this.
exactly. I
But
always thought she could have been
mm-hmm.
a great like second story taking off because she was
Yeah.
very humanized as a
Yeah.
newborn.
That has to be why she wrote Stephanie Meyer must have written that so she could write the novella that way because she wanted to expose or expand on that a little more.
Probably, probably.
So what let's talk some of the other Breaking Dawn because I think we talked a little bit about Eclipse.
Mhm.
I think they stayed in Eclipse. I think they stayed relatively close-ish to the books. I mean, there were some things they changed that I felt were stupid to change,
Yeah.
but they stayed relatively close-ish to the books. I
Eclipse was
enjoyed it
okay.
still.
Like it was
I think the
it
acting was still subpar. That's my biggest problem with it.
Eclipse is actually my favorite of the movies.
I would agree with that.
I felt like there was enough action in it
Mm-hmm.
and there was enough of
Romance.
the romance. It was
Yeah.
a good and we just had like a good mixture of
Mm-hmm.
it kept you like enthralled
Yeah.
throughout the entire movie. And with some of the other movies, they were always kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah.
And it'd pull you in and then you kind of get bored and it'd pull you in. But Eclipse just stayed
Mm-hmm.
consistent the entire movie.
And I will say, I don't think they did justice to the Edward Bella scenes. I think they made even those scenes before the fight. And I'm not looking for spice at all. That's not what I mean. I just mean that they made those scenes were supposed to be intimately powerful,
Yeah.
where he's talking about his family and his beliefs. And they made that so short
Yeah.
and so awkward.
Yeah.
And even the way I noticed, even the way he like grabs every time he grabs her, like his arms do, it's almost like his fingers are all broken. The way he like grabs her body, like it's why are you bending things like that? I don't understand. And that was because his hands are always there and they're
I
always at
know.
a like a weird angle and like that has to be direction because I've watched some other movies and his hands don't look like they've been broken several times. They just do
No.
this movie.
I
So I
I
think
don't
that
know
those
what the
were
direction is. I wish I can kind of hear on the back end what
yes.
directions was in this movie.
But overall, I do think I would agree. I think that's my favorite one of the movies. New Moon, even I have new appreciation going back to watch New Moon because usually the book, that's my least favorite book because I'm Team Edward. And
Hmm.
there's not a lot of Edward in the books. But now that I watched it, I kind of want to go back and reread that book because it's my least favorite book to reread. But I really like the movies this time around. And I think what I like the most is that's the first movie we get where it's all that color and all that vibrancy.
Mm,
There's a
yeah.
lot I think they did poorly in that book or in the movie compared to the book though.
Yes. I New Moon is my least favorite movie. It's my
Mm-hmm.
least favorite book. And
Yep.
that's because I'm the same way. I'm Team Edward. I didn't like when he wasn't there.
No.
Okay. I didn't like Bella when he wasn't there.
Yes.
I didn't like
Yes.
Bella anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's not my favorite character, but she was just like less um can't think of what I'm trying to say right now. I really didn't want to watch her without Edward.
Yeah. I agree.
And just I'm like, okay, like I don't even want to watch this anymore. And the whole season's changing and her sitting in the chair and the song, I'm just like, oh,
I actually like that scene. I didn't like the way they transitioned into that scene.
I didn't like any of it. I'm just
Because I feel like they had to find some way to make the time pass without actually giving us this montage of it. But I think they should have stuck to one or the other because they did that scene, but then they also showed her. I would have rather had her watch her a montage of her drifting further and further from her friends
yeah.
than her sitting in a room. But I did like how they showed the passage of time there.
I would have liked more of a montage of like her day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
Because like was she just sitting in a chair for months? How did she eat? When did she pee? Did she go to school? Like we have no backstory. We just think she's sitting in this chair for months on end.
I did notice something that because you always notice the people walking by as they're doing that month thing, but I don't know if I just forgot because I had to have noticed it before. that you actually see Charlie raking leaves and stop and look up at her and sigh in one of the months passing by. So I thought that was necessary thing, but I think they could have showed
Yeah.
that other ways for sure.
I think they could have even kept the little spinny chair
But
thing,
included the
but
day-to-day stuff.
including a little bit of
I agree with that.
more. Like it didn't have to be like extended or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just something, you
Yeah.
know. And like how many people are walking by this girl's house? And that looked like a backyard, not a front yard. And her window faces
Yep, because the tree line was there. They didn't show the street. You could see the
Yeah.
little off to the side, but
Unless she has two windows in her room. I think she does. She has one that
well,
faces the backyard, one that faces the street.
I think she has one that faces halfway to both. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Because in the
Right,
books,
right.
I remember him coming through in the first one, right before they went out to meet his family, he came in through the woods to her window.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the book,
Where
that's
he
what he's supposed
climbs up her.
Yes. Like a spider monkey.
Here we go again with the creepiness. Or when he kisses her for the first time and he flies back. Stop.
That was, oh my gosh.
Stop. I'm like, what?
The way she has, again, this is directorial, so Kristen Stewart, I'm sorry. But the way they directed you to have those nightmares was just something else.
So awkward.
Okay, I feel like I should not be watching this right now. I feel
What
so
kind of dream
awful.
you having?
Yes. And it's every time she dreams, even when Edward's there at the end of Eclipse. Like, dude, you came back with him.
I'm just more interested in seeing how Kristen Stewart has dreams because they're like dream, and she's like, oh, got it.
Don't worry, guys. I got this under control. I know what to do.
I got the night terrors down. No, ma'am.
Utter failure. Though I will say, her acting does get better in Breaking Dawn Part 2 when she's a vampire. I mean, wow.
Finally.
Not great, but it does get better.
Why? Because she's a vampire and she has her excuse to become awkward?
Maybe? I don't like when she gets mad at okay. This is a scene I was hoping would be so much better. When she finds out Jacob creepily imprinted on her baby daughter. Stephanie Meyer, man, how your brain works. I
still don't get imprinting, because to me, imprinting, I'm going to react the same way Bella reacted.
Yeah, as any normal person would.
And Jacob's like, no, not in a creepy way. And then they're like, show us the future. And it's like Jacob and Renesmee like happy together. And I'm like, so it was.
And when he says after the fight, should I call you dad? Well, that's funny. Girl's still like 7 years old, my guy.
Gross.
Let's not start planning your wedding to a 7. Whoa. I get that it's not like romantic love right now, that it's, well, I know we will be together, but even that is still like, that's way too pedophilic for me. Yeah. Like it's gross. No. But Bella's Kristen Stewart's portrayal of like when she's mad, her whole body language is like, what? It looks like she's about to take flight. Like, like an Olympic skier when they do the high jump. Like it's like her arms are about to pop right back and she's just bending her knees. Like, okay.
Whenever she goes to drink that blood, she collapses and things break.
That was actually, I thought that scene was done really well, but the sounds and the way her body moved, I was like, oh my, she's genuinely hurt. She genuinely hurt herself right there. I feel like her spine is really broken.
I can't watch it every time. I like cringe so bad. I'm like, ew,
that is another thing I wish we got more of. Not her spine breaking. I don't wish we got more of that. That sounded bad. I wish we got more of the banter between Rosalie and Jacob.
I know.
Because in the books, that was one of my favorite parts of Breaking Dawn. Was I wanted to see him whip the bowl back at her. I wanted to see her make the bowl into a dog dish. Like I wanted to see that stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah, I would have loved, because I liked Rosalie.
Yes.
I'm one of the.
I didn't really like her until Breaking Dawn.
I do have a cat named Rosalie, actually.
I know you do. I was surprised you didn't bring that up.
I know. She's my newest addition. It continues on. Mm-hmm. Actually, Jacob named her Rose, so naturally I had to put down that her full name was Rosalie.
We wasn't
complete. Got a theme. Okay, we got
a theme. And if you boys ever have children, these are your options.
This is what's already been taken. There's even a Ben in Twilight, or Breaking Dawn 2.
Oh, is that that's
From iRobot, not iRobot.
yes. Oh my
Freddie.
gosh.
Freddie. His
Freddie Mercury, yeah. Remy Malek.
Remy
Jeez
Malek. I like
Louise. There's all these, and that's the crazy thing. There's all these. Remy Malek is a huge name right now. Anna Kendrick, huge name.
Yep.
Why didn't some of these other characters who did well in this movie, why didn't they have bigger parts going on?
It's Hollywood, man.
I know. It made me sad. You picked the wrong people.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do with that Anna Kendrick.
Right? And I want to see Michael Welch be in something. Put that man in something. He was good.
I thought he was in something recently.
The guy who played Eric, not a huge fan of him though.
Oh, no, I wasn't.
Either. The other thing, again, it goes back to the screenwriting, which was just abysmal. When they're talking about what to write about in the school paper in Twilight, she's like, I don't know, padding on the swim team. That's actually a brilliant idea. Is it? Is it though? Is that a brilliant idea for your school newspaper?
I know.
Padding on the swim team?
Better than the eating disorders that they keep talking about. I'm like, is there nothing else for you guys to put in a school newspaper?
Right?
Other than gossiping about your
is it a gossip column? I do like Anna Kendrick though in the first one. She's like, yeah, he's not interested in anybody though. Whatever. Like just the way she says that, and like her mannerisms, they're all so great. And then at the wedding in Breaking Dawn, she's talking about how she's knocked up. And not Anna Kendrick. Jess is talking about how Bella must be knocked up.
Okay, I will say Breaking Dawn Part 1, my second to least favorite of them.
Oh.
Mainly because just there's not as much storyline, and the honeymoon dragged on too long for me.
Too long.
But I did love their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I was so impressed with the wedding, and I don't know. I think I went in with like little hope because by now this is the 4th movie. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not dumb. I'm like, hey, these movies kind of, suck. I knew back then.
But I love them.
By the time Eclipse came out, I was like, okay, these kind of stink. So, but I still absolutely loved them. But I loved their wedding, and I think they did it beautifully. And one of my favorite parts of the wedding is the speeches.
I love the speeches.
One of my favorites.
I thought, like, when I remember reading the descriptions of the weddings, I couldn't really picture it in my head. And that doesn't happen to me very often when I'm reading that. I can't picture what I'm reading. But when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, this is exactly how she described it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really sad. But the speeches were top notch. Are you pulling up the speeches?
Yeah. No. So a couple of my favorite speeches was one Emmett's, because it was just so Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
And my second one was Renee up there singing.
Yeah, that was delightful. See, that's the kind of awkward they should have been the whole movie.
Yes,
it was delightfully naturally awkward.
That was funny. And then Charlie, I find people.
Seriously, can Billy Burke do anything poorly? I don't think so. I don't think it's in him to do anything poorly. So what's your ranking of movies and books? Let's do books first. What's our ranking on books?
Oh no. Books. I think books it would actually
the books are harder.
I think the books actually go backwards.
Though. Oh really?
I think it literally goes 4, 3, 2, 1. No,
I think I would go 1, 4, 3, 2. So what order would you put the books in?
Okay, so the books for me would go 4, 3, 1, 2.
I was a little surprised that you put 2 above 1 your first round up.
Yeah, no, I had to switch that.
I think mine is 1, 4, 3, 2. Although I could even go 1, 3, 4, 2. 2 is always last though.
I loved when Bella and Edward were finally like together and their life was starting, and I like the fight with the Vittori.
Yeah.
I can't speak. In the fourth
real
one, that's
fight
the only
with
reason. Yeah. I think that's the reason I put 4 at number 1. Is because I liked after getting through it all.
Yeah.
I still love Twilight.
That was the other thing that I was sad that didn't translate to the movie was the scene in the book from Breaking Dawn that when the Volturi came to see all those powers at work. That could have been
Yes.
done other than that fake. That's why I was so angry at that fake scene because they didn't display any of the powers of anybody. It seems so anticlimactic. Like, really? So no
Do you
one's
think
going
it
to do
was a
anything? You're just going to walk
money thing?
away? I think they didn't want to put the effort into CGI, but I think they had probably had the budget to be able to do that because it
Yeah,
wouldn't have taken much to put the shield up because no one was supposed to see the shield. You just
that's
saw it
true.
once the steam came over there. And how hard is it to put a fog machine like that over and
And
just
I
see a little
hated
CGI?
how they did her shield. Where you
Mm-hmm.
like see it like,
Yeah, that was
ooh. I'm
dumb.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that wasn't at all how it was pictured. So that was one scene that was like, this could have been done so much better on screen. So much better.
Yes, absolutely. And let me, I'm trying to think of it was okay, yeah. It was the fifth movie when everybody comes together to fight the Volturi.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many good things about that movie.
Yeah, there
So
were.
many good things. And I think before, I don't know if we were recording it or not, when I was talking about that final scene of why it ended up being one of my favorites after the fact, but I don't understand. I would love to know why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like we ever got a true answer of
No.
why they decided to completely change that, because that had
Yeah.
to have taken a lot out of their budget
Yes, that's exactly it.
to do that scene. And when you have two movies, two and a half hour movies, so you got
Mm-hmm.
5 hours, 4 or 5 hours to put a,
Half of a book.
they're all about the same size.
Is it really?
They're all,
Breaking Dawn, I felt like it was huge.
it doesn't look like it's that much bigger than like the rest. Hold on. Well, like if you I just looked at Twilight and Breaking Dawn. I didn't compare all of them. Twilight's like almost 500 and Breaking Dawn's like 700.
So 200 pages more.
Yeah, it's not like hugely more.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why? There's so much that they left out
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Yep.
The last two movies that you had, and they put so much in that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I really don't know why their honeymoon lasted so
No.
long.
Again, montage. It was almost a montage in the book. That's what it should have been there.
And yeah, and can we talk about the horrific love scenes? I know you're not going to like to talk about these, but they were so like cringy,
Yes.
awkward. And I know we've said awkward and cringy, I don't know how many times in this podcast, but no,
It
oh,
was cringy and awkward.
my favorite one.
Oh, Amanda can't even say it. I'm blushing already.
My favorite one was Breaking Dawn 2. My face getting red. When they walk him into their little tiny cottage,
Mm-hmm.
and the light behind her hair goes poof.
No, I don't remember that at all.
That part kills me every time.
Why?
I'm like, what just exploded behind her head? I don't know. It's so funny
I
every
don't
time.
remember that at all. I don't really watch that scene very closely,
Because
but
I
I don't
sit there
remember
and
that at
watch.
all.
I watch the whole movie. I'm like, oh, this movie's just the best one. And then that scene comes, and I'm like, oh god. I just had to throw something in there to make me go, what?
You can't take them too seriously. Then it becomes a problem.
That scene every time. I didn't even realize it was that long. I think I'm laughing through half of it usually.
Yeah, I forgot that was in there. I completely blocked out that whole scene right there.
Good for you. Because I haven't.
Pretty sure I fast forward to that scene because even I mean it doesn't show up, but it's so that is not my bag. So I always fast forward through that part. But
It's
in the
just so
books, she
different.
doesn't really like. My favorite part about the books, what she writes, is that Bella lets him into her mind,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's what I like about it.
Maybe that's him going into her mind.
No, it's not. I can't believe that they did that. Who was in the editor room and thought, I know what would be a great idea at this part right here, this really intimate physical scene. Let's just add fireworks and fairy lights. What has to go through your head to make that artistic decision?
For just 2 seconds. No, none of the rest.
It's all around awful. Just awful. Ooh.
Oh,
I think
so funny.
I think the books for me go Eclipse is my first in the books or in the movies. I like the Eclipse the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think on any given day it could be either Breaking Dawn 1 or Breaking Dawn 2. I think it could flip flop from day to day. And then Twilight, New Moon. No, I think New Moon, then Twilight. Although it never used to be that. New Moon used to be dead last until I just rewatched it. And I'm like, oh, I actually kind of like New Moon.
No, and it's actually that's the one that Ben always goes first to put on. He's gonna
Is
if
he a
he
werewolf
turns
guy?
on. No, he
Oh,
actually
good.
Ben doesn't like movies or shows. He doesn't like TV. Um,
But
it's
is he
very
Team Edward or
different.
Team Jacob?
Team Edward.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh,
I wouldn't
at
have
least
married
I
him if he
think.
was Team Jacob.
I don't know if I've ever even asked him.
He is what you say he is. That's what he
Yeah,
is.
pretty much. But he likes New Moon. He's always confused why I don't. I'm like, because Edward, hello. Um, and also, can we talk about New Moon for just a second? This is gonna be like our longest podcast ever. I'm just talking about stupid Twilight. Let's talk New Moon. Let's talk New
Yes, let's
Moon
talk New Moon.
when Bella gets to Italy.
Oh my gosh.
And we have this man walking out to the sun in his red robe and his hairy chest and his bedazzled skin.
It that's
Why
not a good look.
why is he so pale? Like
He's a
like
vampire, Amanda.
I know, but he
He
looks sick.
he looks almost green, is what it is. He's so pale he looks green.
Maybe that's it. He doesn't look vampire pale. There's vampire pale and there's like sickly pale.
Yes, he does look sickly pale.
He looks sickly pale. Like,
Mhm.
and I mean, I'm guessing he's, well, I mean, now that I think about it, he is like, has a broken heart. He's a little bit
But no,
lovesick.
he's still supposed to be the most beautiful creature ever.
That's my thing. Like, you have Robert
That's not a
Pattinson,
good look.
who is a very handsome man. Like,
When he
now.
showers, yeah.
Oh, and can we actually say congratulations to Robert Pattinson? Because he
Did
just
he
had a
have the baby?
They just had their first baby.
Oh, yay.
Ooh, another thing I want to talk about. We're so all over the place with this. Y'all just gotta bear with us. I'm going back to the wedding. Bella's present. Jacob was so. I think it was one of the only times that I actually got like mad, I think, at Jacob
Really?
is when he gets to the wedding and starts to question her about her honeymoon.
Yeah.
That to me was
That's not your
so
business, my guy.
like awkward
Yep.
and again with the freaking awkward word. I am sorry, but I don't know how else to
There is
explain
no
some of
other
these
way to
things.
explain it.
Like, why? Who who would go up to the bride on their wedding day and be like, "You're going to have a real honeymoon? You're gonna you're gonna do it with your husband? Like, who do you think you are?" It's the only time I ever got really mad at Jake, but that made me
Ugh.
so angry.
I do love Seth. Can we talk about Seth?
Oh, I do love Seth. I
Because he
like Leah
comes out
too.
in that scene. Leah took some in the books. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of hearing about you.
She takes time. I end up liking her. It just takes
Yes.
time.
Because once you understand, and that's another thing that I don't think they did a good enough job in the movies portraying why she was the way she was. Because in the movies, you
We
just hate
miss
her.
so much in the movies of
Hmm.
the wolf side of it.
And I
Like
think
you
that's a
get a lot of it
mistake.
in New Moon, but that's about it.
Hmm.
Like you get very little in the other movies. And there's so much more in depth when you of the wolves and their pack
Yep.
in the books.
I agree. I think, and again, it's this, they made decisions like with, I brought this up before we were recording, but why did they change the silver revolver to a black one? They made stupid cuts. They didn't give us time to know the wolf pack because they left out so much.
Mm-hmm. They did. They left out way too much. This person put one sentence and they said, "The movies are like an emotional shortcut for me. Thanks." And I want to say how much I like really relate to that.
The movies are an emotional shortcut.
Yeah, because we love the story, we love the book so much
Hmm.
that if you're craving it,
That's
like
true.
you just like I put on a movie because it gives me enough of the story to like scratch that itch, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, it gives you that. I like that. everybody, I mean, everybody on Reddit, of course I go to Reddit, but everybody on Reddit 100% agrees. The books are just so much better, but the movies are nostalgia.
Yes, and
And I
it's a
think that's why
cult
we love them.
classic.
It is.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that if they didn't make I understand that when you go from book to screen, there has to be cuts. I get that. But what shouldn't happen if you're making excessive cuts from book to screen, you should not be adding a bunch of things that don't currently exist in that world that don't benefit the story. Like in
Mm-hmm.
Breaking Dawn, that's why that scene made me so mad. It was a huge budgetary expense. I mean, you were taking on people's heads, you're making the ground shift open, all these massive things
Yep.
that didn't aid the story at all, didn't
No.
benefit the story. It didn't make the story better, but it was an addition where you made huge cuts to the books that were fan favorite pieces that you
Yes.
couldn't put in because you spent money on this other scene that never existed and didn't have any benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to add it has to benefit the story.
Yeah. There was one series who made that same mistake after Twilight. And I remember after getting through the third movie of that series, it's
Mm-hmm.
not it's rated MA. Um 50 Shades of Grey. I'm gonna say it. I'm just not gonna get into any kind of details. But I remember after watching the third movie of 50 Shades of Grey, they did the same thing. They took out so much and put in so they took out so much of the book and put in just nonsense stuff. And that was the first time I
Mm.
was like, they pulled a Breaking Dawn. Like I left the movie theater and I turned to my cousin. I was like, they just pulled a Breaking Dawn. Like they put in so much nonsense and did
Mm-hmm.
not give us enough of the book. And the reason we're watching these movies and love the movies and follow the story is because of the books.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the flippin' books.
Yes.
And this would have been, I don't want to say it'd been more successful. I mean, how much more successful could you have gotten with these movies?
I don't know,
They were
man.
extremely successful. I don't know how. I know how because we all loved the books.
Yep.
And so whatever they gave us, we're gonna love. Just like when the Akatar show comes out, we're gonna love it. Guarantee you we're gonna love it because it's just gonna be an on-screen adaptation of something we love. They're not they don't they're not always great, but there's just stupid
The following is so
differences.
huge that it's going to have that following.
Yes.
There's like, okay, so there's this story that I read. They made into a show called Shadowhunters, and I don't remember what this book series was, but they it wasn't renewed, so they had to wrap it up. But when they wrapped it up, they changed the ending, and
Ooh.
throughout the story, they made huge changes that completely affected the rest of the story on the show that was not in the book. And it upset everybody. And that's why it didn't get renewed because people stopped watching. When you take a storyline, a series, a world that is beloved, and you make massive changes that make the outcome of the story completely different, people are not
Mm-hmm.
going to want to watch it. They aren't going to follow because the whole reason they're watching it in the first place is because they love the books.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
Mm.
I think that I think they did. I like how you put it, the emotional. How did you word that?
It was like an emotional oh gosh, I can't remember now. You know my memory. I'm already reading something else.
All right, so is there anything else that we need to say about this world? The only thing I think I want to say is I would, and I almost feel bad about it because the cast is still around and they're still relatively young. They aren't like really old, but I would still like to see this redone. Well,
Yes.
don't do it like a Dirty Dancing remake, how you absolutely destroyed that remake.
Oh
Don't do
yeah, don't do
that.
that. Only only
Better.
do it if you're gonna do it better and you're
Put
gonna
the
do it
budget behind it.
justice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I want Stephanie Meyer so far into that
Yeah.
script. Like, I want Stephanie Meyer to freaking write that script.
That would be great. I actually got so frustrated after Twilight New Moon that before Eclipse came out, I started writing the screenplay for it. Like I'm using post-it notes all over the book and I'm writing it out myself. I'm like, I can do a better job than she can. And I still maintain that I can do a better. So hit me
Oh,
up. I'll help me out because I'm
yeah,
devoted to this book. And I think that I'm not devoted to it anymore, but I do still love it. And
yeah,
I think that you got to have a different screenwriter, man. You have to have someone who cares about it as much as the author did.
yeah.
I was actually surprised that Stephanie Meyer made a cameo in all of them because they were so badly written.
I don't know how much. I think she gave way too much lenience.
Probably.
I think she was very new into all this. She
Mhm.
didn't. I don't feel like she probably didn't feel like she had that much of a say.
Well, also it landed somewhere
Sadly,
else first. And they didn't they wanted to buy the rights to produce the movie and then it didn't go anywhere and then it's MTV bought the rights from them, I think.
yeah,
How that
I think
went.
you're
So
right.
I think she was like, well, if I don't agree, then it won't get made. Is probably what she was thinking.
So I'm reading a thing right now that gives you like the differences between the books and the movies.
Ooh, yes.
So I'm obviously not going to read all of them. I'm just going to read a couple per movie. Because there are things that like I've kind of forgotten about. I did not forget about this, but there is I wish they would have put a lot more attention on Bella's lullaby because that was a
Yes.
big thing in the book.
That scene was so dumb too, the way they played it out.
It was so poorly. Like I know they put the lullaby in, but they didn't even like explain that that was like Bella's lullaby. They just
Mm-mm.
like put it in the movie.
And Robert Pattinson is an incredibly talented. He's a pianist and he's a musician,
Yes,
so he could have done that way better than what they allowed him.
yes, and there was also while we're on this, Robert Pattinson, I absolutely love his voice
Mm-hmm.
when he sings, and there's one song that he does in the movies. I can't think right now, and it's gonna really bother me, but it's on my
It's in the
Spotify
first movie, isn't it?
playlist. Yes, you know you cannot get his voice in that song like on Spotify or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot find like where to listen other than to like listen to the movie, like where to listen to that
Yeah.
song
I'm
because I loved it.
I'm gonna age myself here.
Oh gosh.
That Robert Pattinson's songs were put up on my MySpace. Is the soundtrack.
Oh, girl, my MySpace was popping.
But when Twilight came out, I still had a MySpace. And there were
Oh, I
Robert
did too.
Pattinson songs on there.
I don't think I had Robert Pattinson song. I think my background
Oh,
was
I did.
Twilight though.
Mm-mm.
So in New Moon, that's only what I'm going to do for Twilight. In New Moon, ooh, in the movie, it includes like the action between the Volturi, the confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in the book. In the book, Edward, Bella, and Alice just talk it out. And
For
in the movie, there's that whole physical fight with
yeah.
Ro and all
Mm-hmm.
them.
And I
So that was
hated
a
that.
major difference.
And it made Edward look so
So
weak.
weak, so weak, and I hated that when they did that to him
Mm-hmm.
because also in the like eclipse, Edward is able to kill Victoria without like any drama. Like
Mm-hmm. It's
in the
not a
book,
huge
he's
drama
like,
fight.
no, he like kills her easily, but in the movie, he's almost killing
Mm-hmm.
her.
Yep.
And that to me just made him seem again weak. Like, why are we making Edward weak? He's supposed to
Yep.
be like extremely like strong.
Mm-hmm. And he almost loses every fight that he has in the movies. Almost
Yes.
loses it. But we don't need that kind of drama. Drama comes from other places. You don't need to make him look weak to do that.
No. Another thing is in the books, there's nothing they could have done about this other than like CGI, I guess. Jacob's supposed to be almost 7 feet tall.
I know.
I kind of forgot about that just because now I know they were going to recast
Yeah.
Taylor Lautner
And
for
I'm
this
glad
one.
they didn't. I really like
Me too.
Taylor in the role.
I do too. I
I
still
thought he
to
did
this
a
day
good
love him.
job. And
He did.
he's not a great actor, I don't think, but I think he did the role justice. I think in other things there's things that the way he like moves his lips when he delivers his lines, I think is where his downfall is because it's very I don't know. It's just odd. But I think in the role he played, it was good. But I mean, the way he beefed up though, I think made up for the non
He
7 feet tall. Like even in his
he
like
had
collarbones, the
to do
muscles
that.
there, he did, yeah.
He had to do that or they were recasting him.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually did apparently they did fire him. He
Mm-hmm.
had to like fight for his job back, which sucks because I really love Taylor Lautner.
And I love that Boo Boo Stewart is now like he comes back in a different way because he's now like one of my daughter. He used to be my daughter's favorite because he's in Descendants,
Oh yeah.
and he was Seth.
I like Seth. I
I do
really
too.
did love Seth.
I think that's a character that they actually in the Wolfpack that they actually did justice to.
Yeah. I wish
You
they
don't
would have.
think so?
No, I think they did. Seth is the only one that I think they did do justice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of all of them now. Like all the other ones were just like one-offs. Like we didn't
Yeah.
really, other than New Moon, it's just like we didn't really get any of the wolf story.
No. And I think
Just
that they did have
little
to
bits.
recast Sam. I think the Sam in the original movie was like, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that. That was a good. That one I agreed with. That one was a good one.
Mm-hmm. And I hate when
So
they recast in movies, but that guy was so stiff. What's the difference in Eclipse now from book to movie?
I'm reading these. So one significant storyline in the novel Breaking Dawn is Jacob's budding friendship with the Colons,
Mm-hmm.
which we get that
A little. I don't think we get it
a
enough.
little. Following Bella's marriage, in the book, Jacob finds friendship with Alice.
Mm-hmm.
Alice starts developing headaches because of her resume, Edward and Bella's hybrid daughter, and her inability to see the baby's future. But being around Jacob cancels out her
Yep.
headaches. This healing friendship is not shown at all in the
No,
movies.
at all.
In the I'm racking my brain right now. In the book, did Alice leave?
Yeah.
She
The
did because
second in the back half.
she
She
did. She did.
drops the
Yeah.
vase, and then that's she almost like leaves the next day.
It's all kind of
Coming
coming back
back
to
to me now.
because I always hated that. I hated when Alice left.
I know. But even that wasn't done well in the book either, or in the movie either. Because in
Mm-mm.
the book, Alice left a trail for her, and they didn't make that clear enough in the movie. I mean, yeah, they show her writing in that book, but there was a messenger that she sent back with a letter. There was all this stuff that she did so that she would
Yeah,
know
she
without
like
telling
met with the
them.
lawyer.
Yeah.
Was that a lawyer? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what he technically was, but like
He was a lawyer. He was an estate lawyer.
again, they rushed that part.
Yep.
Like, why rush that important part and put
Because they had
in
to get to the big
stupid
battle
stuff?
scene. See, it makes you madder the more you think about what they left out, doesn't it? That's why I struggle with making that my favorite because the end scene ticks me off so bad.
I haven't read the books since the last movie came out.
Oh, wow.
I know it's been. I read all the books twice, and then I reread each book right before the movie came out. So I've read all the books
You've only read them 3 times?
three. Some I think Twilight I read four. Um, because I then bought them on my Kindle and read them again on my. No, I read them again on my Kindle, so
Okay.
4 times. But it's been like
Years.
10 years probably since I
Wow.
read the books.
I used to read the books once a year.
I should. I actually might reread them this year. I might reread them. So when did I read Midnight Sun with those? At the very end?
Well, no, because it's Edward's point of view through Twilight.
Oh, see, I don't like those books.
You don't like the Twilight
It's the
books?
same story then, just on
No,
his.
it's different enough that it's compelling.
Okay. It's not like gonna be the same exact information, just his voice.
It's not. No. Because remember, he's
I
gone
hate
for
when they
so
do
long.
that.
He's gone for so long, and there's moments when he's not with her, and it makes the
Yeah.
scene. And I kind of wish this did come out then because his creepiness in watching her sleep wouldn't have been as creepy because we would have had Edward's point of view
Oh,
in her
that's
bedroom.
true.
But it makes it more
Okay.
sweet and kind. It's from a protection point of view, and I don't know why I want to protect her, but I want to protect her. And in the movies, it's like I
It's
want
like,
to eat you, so I must be close to you. So it makes Twilight better. It's a good companion.
Okay. I'll read it.
You're going to read it.
I'll read anything really, but
I'm gonna watch The Wilds and read Bree Tanner, and you're gonna read Midnight Sun.
yes. I have to
Okay.
watch something for you too.
I'm not gonna make you watch anything as long as you read Midnight Sun.
I read a lot of
You and
things.
Jeanette tell me what to watch.
You're behind.
So I know, but it's because I'm reading the books you guys want me to read.
Do it all, honey. Do it all.
I can't.
We
I'm
can't
asleep
have
by
a
like
life.
9 o'clock at night.
There's your problem. I do too, though.
Well, I have to get up at 4:30 or 5 every morning.
I get up 5:30.
I
I go to sleep at 9:30. I sleep from 5:30 or 9:30 to 5:30.
I don't. I sleep usually like I'll fall asleep with a book in my hand, and in those cases I'm asleep by 9 or 9:30. But sometimes my husband's like, "Hey, you want to watch something with me?" Yeah. Then I'll have to stay up until like 10. I'm like, I just really want to go to bed now. Can I just go to bed? So I'm trying. I will try, especially because they're coming to an end soon and we have to do recaps and reviews on them. So I think Amanda and I could talk about Twilight for days probably and still not have enough to talk about. I mean, we could break down every book and every movie in intensely great detail.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to end here though. Because what you don't see, because that part will not be included in this podcast, but this podcast was supposed to be about a completely different subject. We accidentally got on the Twilight train and we're like, you know what? We should talk about that.
Well, after 30 minutes of us just talking about Twilight, might as well.
That is how it happened, honestly. We opened up to talk about the other thing and mentioned Twilight, and then we got sucked down a rabbit hole. But you can watch all 4 Twilight movies on all 5 Twilight movies on Hulu right now. I'm pretty sure that's where it's, if you have a subscription, that's where it's free. I think you can rent it and buy it off of Prime and that, but it's on Hulu. And she has 6 books out in the Twilight universe. There's Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, The Short Life of Bree Tanner, and then Midnight Sun came out like 3 years ago, right before I got cancer. It came out. So I think it was 2021, 2020, somewhere like that. Yeah. Midnight Sun, she published the whole thing. So check out those books, check out those movies. Gen Zers, if you're listening to this and you're like, Twilight's so mockable, it's so funny. Well,
yes.
Read the books first. And then you have authority to laugh at the movies because you will be so in love with them that you're still going to watch them anyway. So do that. Check out our other stuff that's coming out for you. We still have some ACOTAR themed podcasts coming at you. We're going through, I think our next one is going to be ACOWAR, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin, right? Mm-hmm. So that's our next ACOTAR one that's coming at you. We have a top 10 resident one coming at you. If you are behind on that, check it out on Netflix. And we have a lot of our recaps from the last 2 seasons, I believe, of The Resident we have on our podcast. So go check out those because that is coming at you. We have some finale episodes coming at you. Bridgerton is coming soon. The Bear, we're going to do a review of that because, oh my gosh, I hope it comes back in June. I so hope it comes back in June.
Same.
So that'll come out.
Sullivan's Crossing.
Oh, yeah. So now that, if you are in Canada, Sullivan's Crossing just came out on April 14th. I thought that was a universal date. It's not. So I don't know when it's premiering in the US yet. We don't know yet. We don't have a US date. At least I couldn't find one in my research of finding out when it came to the CW. But when that's right before the release date, we will give you a review of Sullivan's Crossing, and then we'll jump into season 2. All that stuff is coming your way. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and please like and subscribe to our channel. The more subscribers we get, the more probability we have of getting you interviews with cast and crew from these fandoms, from these shows, from these book series, authors, all that sort of stuff. Because the more people they know will be listening to them talk, the more likely they are to say yes to be interviewed by us. And we would love to get that for you. So make sure you're subscribing and sharing with your friends and family. And on that note, we'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.